Guys, we need to admit something. We're in love with the ceiling. Look at that. Isn't the ceiling so cool?
So, I guess you already know what we're gonna talk about today, right?
Yep, so let's get started. So cool to see something for the first time after we have been imagining it for so long. I mean, since the beginning we knew we wanted white panels for our ceiling, and we also always liked the look of the exposed beams. So we decided to combine these two elements together, and that's the result we've got, and we love it.
So, I think we can start from the beginning, right?
Sure.
So, first step, ceiling panels.
Ceiling panels.
As you guys might know, we actually built the ceiling panels a few weeks ago, and we have a full episode about that. So, if you want to know a little bit more in details about this, just click on this link. But don't forget to come back after that to finish this episode. So, this being said, let's go to the second step.
The wooden beams, but actually in our case, they are a little bit more than just beams. So let me explain. A beam is a structural element that has the purpose of transferring loads from a slab into the columns. Or in other words, to transfer loads from an horizontal element to a vertical element. In our case, the horizontal element, instead of being a slab, is the ceiling panel, and instead of having columns, we transfer the loads to the framing system. But that's not all. For us, this element was also important to hide the edges of the laminated finishes of the ceiling panels, so in the end, the ceiling could look like it was made out of one big panel. Even though this is a simple task, it needs to be really precise in order to get a really good final result. No, this is definitely not our workshop. In order to have a better precision, we decided to use a friend's workshop. So we first used the joiner to get one side of the beams squared, and after that we used the table saw to make sure the other side was also squared and parallel to the first side. Well, we could have stopped there, but as we were already there, we decided to use his huge sanding machine to save us some time and at the same time to get a really good finishing on our beams. Back to the container, all we needed to do was to cut the beams on length and to apply a coat of stain. Oh, by the way, the wood we used was pressure-treated pine.
So, step number 3.
It was about time to create some extra supports on the wall framing system to support the beams that were gonna support the panels. So that's how we did it. Well, we started this task by drawing on the bottom of the tracks the rough position of each beam, and after that we cut all the studs and screw only the horizontal ones on place. The reason for that is because we needed to have a really precise positioning of the beams before we could screw the vertical studs, otherwise the entire concept wouldn't work. Or in other words, the edges of the panels could be exposed. So we decided to play it safe. The strategy was to locate each beam in a rough position so we could put the panels on place, and then we could decide the final position of each beam. But of course, there are always unpredictable things. We didn't consider the thickness of the insulation on the length of the beams. That means it didn't fit. So here we go again, back to the miter saw to take off an extra 2 cm of each beam.
I think you guys got the point, right? So we can go straight to the final and most scary step of the building.
To lift the panels and to put them on place. You know, until this point, everything was theoretical. And in theory, everything always worked fine. But in reality, on practice, that's not necessarily true, you know? And we were only going to know if the panels were on the right dimensions once we tried to put them on place. But we were lucky this time. Before we lift them on place, we realized that we had a mistake before even trying. And that's good because we realized the mistake before we actually, tried to put them on place and need to take them back off. So first, let's fix this problem.
So what's the idea?
The idea is that, sometimes you don't see things before. This is the corner of the shipping container, and there is like a small metal box on the top corner. And with that, this won't fit to place. So we need to take like 1 or 2 centimeters off this height and hope it's going to fit to place. Because, I don't know, we didn't try to fit yet, but we just don't want to risk once we try to slide, it won't fit. So we're just fixing it before. you know, if there's any company out there that wants to send us a Japanese saw, it would help a lot along the way. We still have a lot of things that we're gonna use, so just keep in mind.
Good. It's good, babe.
Yeah, that will fit.
So now we were finally ready for the final task.
But also scared. I mean, we were scared to try to lift these panels up and, I don't know, let them fall or something. And we postponed this task for a while, but at one point we needed to try, you know? Otherwise we would never finish the house. So that's how we did it. So, time to finally put the panels up. It's gonna be tricky, we know. We are a little bit scared, but we have some help today.
Let's go then.
Yeah, Fao, you know Fao, right? The other friend is not here yet, but hopefully he's coming to help because... What I meant was that our other friend had not yet arrived, so we decided to start with the small panel. Well, even though this panel is a lot lighter than the bigger panels, it was really tricky, and some extra hands would help a lot for sure. As you can tell, at this point Andre, our other friend, had already arrived. I don't know if I mentioned before, but from the age of 12 until I was 19, I used to practice gymnastics. Yeah, I know, I don't look like a gymnast. But for these 7 years, all I did was to practice gymnastics, and that's where I know Andre and Fabio from. We used to be on the same team. So, back to the ceiling. The best way we found to nail the position of each beam was to slide the panel on place, then we could locate each beam on the exactly position we wanted, then we would screw the bottom screw of the vertical studs. After that we would slide the panel off the place, and we could screw the top screw of the vertical stud, so then we could slide the panel back to the final position, and that's it.
Actually, we forgot to mention one thing. The yellow conduits.
True. So why do we need yellow conduits?
For future lights.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, and also to bring the electrical wiring from one side to the house to the other side. These ones, you know.
In the future.
In the
So
future.
we are gonna put the electrical thing in the future.
Yeah. And we also need to recognize one thing. This was a teamwork. So it's fair to show you guys the team picture. Here's the team picture. Fabio and Andre, I mean, Fabio did that because they're really good friends and calling by the name is just not, you know, close enough. So Fabio did that. Thanks so much for the help. That was amazing.
Without them, I think we couldn't have done this.
Yeah, for a while we thought we could.
Yeah.
We even imagined, like, you know, getting ropes and pulleys and stuff to lift the panels up, but was a lot easier and more fun
Yeah.
with them. It's just, I don't know, it's just really cool to work with friends and, you know, it's not work, it's just fun, you know, just having fun.
It's true.
And the result, now that's what's done is done, and the results are, it's just so good. It just looks amazing.
Yeah, we are in love.
We imagined for so long, and right now looks exactly the same as we imagined. It's just crazy, you know, like I could see in the mind, but now it's just like right there.
I guess we can talk about next week's challenge, right?
Oh, next week's challenge. Let's get serious now.
I don't know if you noticed, but we didn't finish the ceiling panels all the way to the end of the...
Don't tell him.
We need to be honest.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about video. You can shoot one side of the house and it seems like it's ready, but if you point to the other side, it's just not ready at all.
Yeah. We still need to do some things. We still need to finish some parts of the house before we finish the ceiling.
Yeah, that's the reason why we didn't put the final piece of ceiling for this side of the house, because we have some fixing to do.
Yeah.
And as we are honest today, we're just trying to be honest.
No, we are always
Yeah, we
honest.
are. Yeah, but let's tell the whole story then.
Our door is sick.
Yeah. Do you remember the door, the wooden door we built a few months ago? We have like 2 videos about the door. Here's the link. We had a problem when we built the door. We put the door when we painted on a support, a wooden support, right? And back then we had no windows, and during the night the door ended up falling from the support on the water, and it stayed there for like, I don't know, like 20 hours on the water. That means that the water got inside of the door, like, you know, the wood got really wet. And we thought, let's just install and let it dry for a while and see what happens, you know. So basically the door is facing the bad weather. That means that it did dry, but it didn't, and then, like, you know, like the parts of the door,
The paint, some parts of the paints.
yeah, we don't need to get into details, but we just want to let you know that the door is sick. And we like our wooden door, so we need to treat our wooden door. But we have one extra problem, that in order to do that, we need to, you know, have a cover, otherwise it's gonna rain inside of the house.
So next week we are planning to build a canopy for the entry door.
So we can fix the door after that. But that's good, because we've been dreaming of a canopy for a long time. I mean, like, we like canopies. It just they look good. Cool, not good.
Good.
Yeah, they look cool. And we have a different kind of canopy that we imagined for this project.
Based on boats.
Yeah, it's based on sailboats. No, it's not gonna be a steel canopy. It's gonna be based on wooden boats. But that's gonna be a surprise for next week. Hopefully we can finish on time. Yeah, we've been thinking about that for a while, and as we had so much things to do before, we didn't, you know, stop to do the canopy, but now we have a good excuse to do the canopy, as we need to fix the door. So next week we're going to work on the canopy, and I think it's going to be really cool, and I think you should come back next Monday to check it out, if you're curious. If you're not, just don't come back, but I think you're going to be curious. And if you want to come back next week, make sure to subscribe to the channel and to click on the little bell, so you're gonna be notified when we post the canopy video, right?
I guess that's it for this week.
That's it?
Yeah.
We're talking too much as usual. So see you guys
next week.